Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Solar Factory. It's been a while. A couple of things have gone on in real life that sort of held me up from recording. This is probably going to be the last of the. It will be the last episode of the year. Merry Christmas, I guess. This is the Fixmas event in Satisfactory. Due to their current sort of workload of other bits and pieces, they're not doing anything. These are repeating the same one from last year. Luckily, I actually have a bunch of stuff stored from last year, so I'll be able to do basically anything I need to do. I am actually building some things here. I'm actually using these Fixmas gift, which actually fall from the sky in these things. So you can actually just walk up, press E, and you pick them up. See, that's one falling down there, and it does that cool effect. Depending on the size, some are worth more than others. I think they go up to as high as 25, I believe. I think I've seen some that high. Let's just watch this one land. That might be a 20. That's a 15. And if you don't pick them up, the rate of the items falling, I think, decreases to a point where it basically stops. It will just basically fall forever. It won't stop. I had a bunch stored over from last year. I'm feeding into a series of smelters here. These smelters are turning into red Fixmas ornaments, and I'm slowly collecting them over here, because you can actually have a whole series of new recipes come with this. So if I actually go into the constructor, we've got things like Christmas tree branches, which you also need the same Fixmas gift to make. Candy cane, same thing. Christmas bow, same thing. Actual snow, same thing. And snowball needs snow, so that's one sort of item you can make. Oh, do I have enough to make assemble it? No, I don't. So I'm making that because in the actually, if I go downstairs to my long-term storage thing, which I've got underneath at the very bottom of this whole factory setup, got all these storages down here, which have had stuff for ages. Over here is where all the Christmas stuff was. So we have some Christmas bows there, and some wreaths or decorations, star on top, some snowball, some snow, candy cane, ornament bundle. You can see that's actually combining the orange one and the white one. To make that, you can see the white one requires the blue one and an iron ingot to make the white one. This one needs red, hence why I'm making a bunch of them, and copper ingots because I haven't got much. And blue is just made from the Fixmas gift, because in there I have almost a full collection of that. So that goes into an assembler to make that stuff. In here I just got a whole bunch of tree branches. So this is also update 7, by the way. So update 7 sort of got announced pretty much as I was doing, I think, in the middle of 10, maybe 11, episode 10, 11. And that's the other reason I've sort of held off, is because they've added to update 7 is a thing called blueprints, which I'm actually haven't not used yet. So that's what I'm going to do in a moment. But first, I need to go and do my little advent calendar thing. So I'm recording this on the 11th. So I've done a couple already. I've done 1 to 4 and 6 and 9. So I've just got to find 7, 8, 7. This is the same one from last year. So there's 7. And it reveals what it didn't, so it goes to got some actual snow. 8, there's 10 just hidden there. Ooh, that's a star. 8, so there's 9 already done. 8, there's 17 not ready yet. 8 down there. Snowball. There's 7. So what have we got here? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, no 5. There's 5. There's 5. Customize a basic fixture skin. Ooh, okay, fair enough. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 we need. 11, 12, too early, that's tomorrow. 19, oh, there's 11 here somewhere. You can get a hint if you want. There it is. Oh, it's another skin of some sort. Cool. Right, so that's that one up to date. So, I'll do that over the next coming days. So what they've added is blueprints in tier 4, which is this. So unlock it, I need a bunch of stuff. So we've got most of the concrete, I think, all the concrete, all of the steel beams. I just need some more cable, which is over here. Okay, that should be enough. And modular frames. Don't have a lot of use for modular frames. This is good. Ooh, Helo clock's a big one. That might be a 20. Alright, modular frames. Done. Alright. Unlock. Yeah. Alright, this is a good place to do it. Yeah. Where do we build it? Blueprints design. Right. What do I need to make it? I need more modular frames. Good place as any. Right, so as you can see, it's a 4x4 by I think 8 wall high. I think it's about 8 walls high in terms of its. Yeah, I think it's about 8. Yeah, I think it's 8 walls high. So yeah, I think it's call it 8 walls. So it's a 4x4 grid followed with an 8. So you've got all this space to build your blueprint in, and you can then save it. So I assume I need to power this thing. Maybe I don't. Any power to it? Doesn't look like I need to power it. Okay, carry on. So, for example, we could. I've got a new build planned. I'm going to be building over in the desert factory. I'll just go and zoom over there where I'm going to quickly. I've already built the basics of it, so let's go to the desert drone port. So on the other side of this is that platform, and I'm going to make. I have already forgotten what I was going to make. It's steel beams because I need the coal and iron ore. I've got coal coming from there, and I'm going to go into fly mode so I can go up quickly. There we go. So we've got 2 pure coal nodes there, a pure iron ore node there, and just there. Bring both in to here, and I'm going to be making. Oh my! I cannot. Embarrassing. I've forgotten. It's going to be making. That's right. Okay, let's go back to the other end. I need to go to the generator, the nuclear gen section, because it all starts there. So, where's the nuclear gen? Top south. There we go. Okay, looking good. Okay, so we have a bunch of stuff being made here that is a little bit tricky to maintain and keep a decent production level of. Yeah, so in this whole setup, yeah, there's going to be Fixmas gifts falling down here. So at the far end over there, just in through the clouds of the generators there, you can see we've got 8 assemblers making encased industrial beams, which needs to go into all these manufacturers, which is making the rods for the generators underneath. So to maintain that and all the stuff that that requires, you means you've got to make steel beams here, which is what these foundries and these constructors are doing. Plus you've got to combine it with concrete to then make the encased industrial beams. So what I decided to do was, rather than try and make all that here and take up a lot of space, plus not have much options to expand the production level if I needed to, was to make it all off-site and drone it in. So that's what I'm going to basically do. I'm going to make encased industrial beams and steel beams over in the desert factory and drone them in a series of drone ports down the back there. So we've got drone ports coming in for heat sinks and the electromagnetic control rods. They're going to move to here. Everything's going to come into here and go essentially from where we're sort of hovering here, left to right, down that middle platform there. Down this middle path here. The idea being that if I need to, I can expand and build more generators to the left of where we're hovering. So all this is going to be flipped sideways as well. So these, rather than going left to right as that, they're going to come up and down to facing sort of in a row towards us. Flip everything essentially 90 degrees. But these are going to go, they're going to go, I'm going to make the iron plates elsewhere and drone them all in. And then they'll come in a series of drone ports at the back there, roughly to here's where I think I can basically fit them all in. And then we'll just have drone ports coming in, going to a series of containers, and then basically doing what this is doing, coming to here. That's the plan, that's the new build. And to make this a little bit easier, I think I will probably investigate the usage of blueprints. Wasn't going to do this. This is sort of a surprise. They did not. It's been one of the things that the community's asked for in terms of in additions to Satisfactory is blueprints. I'm not too sure I'm going to make a lot of use of it, but wait for this graphics to kick in. Wait for it. There it goes. Oh, it's really sluggish. Normally it's a lot quicker than that. Yeah, so that's basically what I'm going to do is build on here. Similar thing to what we've done over here, and a better looking one of those in the future. We are going to build a production tower making encased industrial beams, iron plates, and steel beams, all to be droned in back to the generator factory, the generator setup. At this stage, probably through just one drone port. I'll just have them all going to one drone port, and then I'll come out using at the other end. I'll just come out via a smart splitter. If that doesn't prove particularly the throughput's not good enough for doing that, I'll just make 3 of them and just have each one having its own thing, which is fine. Just about expand this out, put the next 3 back to back with these 3 and just have them facing out to the right. So that's not a big problem at all if that's needed. So that's the main thing, but I do want to have a play around because that'll allow me to hopefully expand. So with being in this area, I've got heaps more iron ore, heaps more coal. So we've got more down there. And there's limestone here for the concrete component of it. So I've got way more options to expand the production here to make those encased industrial beams and steel beams, etc. Than I do down the other where I've got the current setup for the generator factory. So the generator setup. So it's just much more practical to do it that way than try and build it there. So to that end, let's have a quick look at that blueprint factory, because we could basically use that to build some part of this factory that we're going to build. So first things first, let's put down, we won't put down the foundation because the foundation will be in place. But if you look at what you need to make, say for example you need to make encased industrial beams, first thing you need is a foundry. So let's go and we'll build 2 foundries. I'm not sure how many are going to fit in a 4x4 grid. So what you can actually do is build these blueprints and then just reuse them over and over again. And all you need is the cost of building the blueprint once you get to it. So if I just grab... I've not used this before, so this is all a learning experience for me. I have seen videos of it, but that's about the extent of it. So if we go and build a foundry, and we'll go, so there's your 4x4 grid. So if I build, there's the grid layout, which is cool. So let's build the, no, not the assembler, sorry, the foundry. Need to be going to get onto, always the same problem, how are we actually going to fit onto the area? We could actually fit, I'm just going to go 2 to begin with. So we'll just go 2. So we'll make that, that will do. So there's your 2 foundries. Now, from a foundry you basically get steel, and then the steel goes into a constructor to make the actual beams. So at a very base level, we could just build a constructor and a copper cable. Autosave's going to kick in a few seconds. So I'll just get back to here. Let's hover. Yeah, so the next thing we'll build is we'll build a couple of constructors, which is what you take the steel ingot from. So constructor, makes us, it gives us the guidelines again, which is good. And we'll need one more there. And we could even put in the actual belts between them, like so. And that. And we'll make that out, can be select recipe, steel beams, and steel beams. And that is a very basic blueprint, but that means I can just build that over and over again. So if we go into here, blueprint, I'm going to call that steel, call it steel beams. You can put it into a directory, you can put it into, I can give it an icon, so let's give it an icon. Oh, lots of icon parts, beams, there we go. Select colour, don't care. And there's the cost of building this particular blueprint as it is. So if I save that, blueprint is now saved. Clear the designer. Now if we come up to here, we've got blueprints. There's our steel beams, and if I can get to a decent position, there's the, you can rotate it around. So all you now need to do is feed in the iron ore and coal and set the appropriate you know, overclocking. You didn't put the overclocking into the recipe if you wanted to, but I've left them as 100%. So that's kind of the basics of it. Now I don't think I'd use it for a lot of that because I'm not doing a lot of one-to-one building like that. I do a lot of manifolds out and then feed that into an extra thing. So you could build that as a part of the recipe rather than blueprint. But yeah, what I would probably use it for is my decorative stuff. So for example, potentially the roof could be something I would do as a blueprint. All these parts of the roof. I could also do, where I'm not seeing an example of it in here, where would I do, like for example, my pillars that I could do, I could build that as a blueprint. Then I've got a 2x2, bit to put it on, and I could just bring it out of the blueprint designer and just build it right there on the spot. So that's probably where I'd most likely use it. But I don't think I'll use blueprints that much. But it's a neat little idea. It's a neat little idea, and they've implemented it pretty well from that little bit of a playthrough there. Just pick up some of these to clear that. And we'll put some more into there. So we've got 7,000 just under in there. These are all overclocked at 250%. So it's making it absolute. I'm just going to make that until that's basically run out. So not fussed by it at all. Okay. So I probably will need to consider building that into my main factory hub area when I get around to rebuilding that. But for the time being, let's go over. So I'm going to jump back to the drone port in the desert. If I can find my mouse, there he is. And the next thing I'm going to do is I've got to build in. You probably can't tell, I've actually done some of this already. So let's just fall down there gracefully. There's already power underneath here. So I've already got, you see, I've already got the iron ore coming in from those two, from there and there. And I've got the coal belt runs just going to here. They've got to go all the way down there. I've got some of them already built to, I think, almost to that junction point there. You can just see it right there. So bring them both in, got them in there, then we'll figure out how we're going to lay this out. And we may or may not use that blueprint I just created, so we'll see. How much have we got? 1900, that's probably enough to build most of this. Right. So, I'm going to build this over the next few minutes, and then I'll come back and we'll figure out what the layout's going to be of the first floor. Okay, while the Christmas presents rained out, let's just have a quick talk about the plan for the build in the desert area, which is to supply basically everything we're seeing over here is going to be redesigned. So we've got a bunch of concrete being made, that's going to be stayed here. We've got silica being made here, that's going to stay here. These setups are going to change. It's going to be retained, but it's going to have its orientation changed and its layout changed a bit. What's going to be moved out and removed and replaced by what's in the other factory is going to be these constructors making steel beams from these foundries making steel ingots. All that's going to be moved out to the other factory, and it's going to be droned in to a series of ports that are going to sit along the side here. This little guy here that's making iron plates, that's also going to be moved out to the other area. So as a part of what these steel beams get used for, they get used in, first bit is they get used in these four manufacturers that are just sitting in a row there. These guys take all, so this is a nuclear waste setup. So basically the waste comes in here, hangs a left, comes into this first blender, which then turns it into non-fissile uranium with a bit of water as another output. That basically loops round back into this guy, which is making nitric acid. It gets acid from nitrogen gas from this setup, comes into here, gets combined with water, which basically feeds from the other blender, and iron plates. So we've got 48 iron plates required because we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. That feeds into nitric acid, feeds directly from that into this guy. This guy takes the uranium waste, the silica, and sulfuric acid, which is made by those two refineries, with the sulfur drone ported in. And that makes non-fissile uranium and water. As I said, water feeds back into that. Non-fissile uranium feeds right into this particle accelerator. Particle accelerator takes more uranium waste to make plutonium pellets. Plutonium pellets get fed into these two, so that gets out there and then split into these two assemblers, which take concrete to make encased plutonium cells. They feed directly into this manufacturer, which is then combined with steel beams, 10.8 a minute, so we need 43.2 to feed all four of them. Electromagnetic control rods, we did that build a couple of episodes back, and heat sinks, that was kind of part of that other build as well. All of those get droned in there and there. Both of them are going to move to here, and all of it's going to come from this direction towards us. That's where one set of steel beams are used in, is in this guy here. So concrete is used in here, so that's where all setup's going to be used from, along with the silica from there and the iron plates. You can see it's all going to come from that far direction. What we also need steel beams for is over here. All these manufacturers are making uranium fuel rods for the generators underneath. So have a look at here. We've got 14.4 being made total maximum minute from those 18 manufacturers, and we're getting currently 11. We actually don't need that many. I think the actual output required is about 9 and a bit at the moment to feed the 48 underneath. Anyway, so we've got encased industrial beams being made in this setup. Now, in a funny quirk, we need 43.2 of these per minute. We're making 48. You can see they're all stacked up because they've overflowed. To make these 43.2 or 48 induction pressure beams, we need 192 beams per minute, along with, if I can get it to, it's not going to select it for me for some reason. No, it's not. We need 30 concrete a minute per machine. 8 times 30 gives us 240 concrete a minute. Hence why we're going to retain the concrete being made at the other end. So that's what we also need the steel beams for. So as a result of that, I've got this plan, which I'm just going to bring up on the screen now. So the top section is just making steel beams. And it's making in 2 lots of 6. So 6 foundries going to 6 constructors. We're making we're going to need 112 iron ore per machine for a total of 675. Cover that easy. We've got two pure nodes. Likewise, we need the exact same number of coal per set of 6. Again, we've got 2 pure nodes, so that's covered easily. That's going to go into 6 constructors. Each one will spit out 28.1, and 168.8 times 2 gives us 337.6 total output. We need 337.5, so we've got that covered. Of that 337.5, you can see it on the very bottom, it's got encased industrial beams. Target 45 a minute. Now I can probably tweak that a little bit and make that a bit higher potentially, because we've got to take into account that the drone port's got to drone it across from the other side, from the desert to here, and you've got to maintain enough to keep it fed at 43.2. So that might need to be increased a bit. But for the time being, I'll go for 45. Of that 368 or 330 odd beams, I said it's going to use 192 to make these encased industrial beams. The remainder will be used to feed the 4 manufacturers that I pointed out first. Then we've got one little iron ore smelter going to iron ingots to make those steel plates. That's iron plates, sorry. And that's basically the setup. So that's going to be that factory floor at the desert. All 3 items will come out and go into a single drone port initially. I might change that if the throughput doesn't work, into 3 separate drone ports. But it'll be one drone port. It'll come to here in one drone port, and then use a smart splitter or a programmable splitter to then split it out and join this sort of row down here. All of the things are going to be fed down this central part, and then just break to the right as needed. And that's the plan. So I'm just going to get this last fix. Oh, one more there. I'll grab that. In the middle section here, this section in the get more Christmas. This section here, which is basically just a single setup of that, but it's for manual waste. What I mean by that, this is if I have a problem where something causes all the waste to get backed up, and it starts to just back up in these 4 things, these 4 rows of output just completely seize up. I basically unpack all the nucleates myself, put into these 3 containers, and then that eventually feeds into these ones, and it gets rid of the waste in that way. So it's a kind of, oops, something screwed up, I need to go and fix this. And at the moment I've got, okay, so that's got some pellets in it, so I'm just going to join that up to that, and that can feed into that. That'll feed that. This should be empty, I hope. This should be empty. Oh, we've got 99. I can stay there. Oh, I might grab that though. So grab all of it. What we can do is we can go over here and just look at each one of these. What have you got? You've got 220, it's probably enough. You've got 220 as well. 260. Oh, you've got a bit on the low side of the waist. Let's give you. Let's split that into. It needs 25, but it needs 30 a minute. I'll give you 25. You know, 25. There we go. Right, you've got 300. I'm going to give you 25 as well. What have you got in waist-wise? You've got 29. 20. There we go. You can have that. Alright. Just stick it in there. There we go. Right. So that's going to use those last pellets, make some of the casing to fuel cells. So this is basically, this setup here is one row of that, but it's just running at a standard. It's running at as not double, not overclocked or anything. Well, it is a little bit, but not that much, not as much as these guys. So these are very particularly set up. This whole stream is set up specifically to take in the nuclear waste from each row of the generators. Each produce 120. Not too sure what thing it's 2.4. It isn't. If I put a counter on there, to say 120 pretty much on the dot. So that's the setup in here. So that's what this has all been to do. So once they've rebuilt that and got those drain ports in, this is going to go, all that's going to go, all that's going to go. And then I'm going to have to rotate this stuff. And they're going to rotate it so that rather than going this way, it's going to go sort of up and down from this perspective. So it's going to go, towards the water. In order to just make it a little bit more efficient and have the outputs go towards the water, which means it'll join that middle row again, that middle sort of platform. All the drain ports will be around the back there. So that's the plan. So let's go back into the desert. I have a new build it up. So that's all going to be built there. So we've got two pure nodes. Remember, so we've got two pure nodes of iron ore there and there, and two pure coal nodes there and there. More than enough to do what we're going to do. So the first level is going to have 6 foundries, taking in the inputs from both of these 4 inputs. They're going to feed directly into a set of 6 constructors. And that will be the first floor. So I will build that and come back. Alright, and there is the first floor basically built. So we've got 6 foundries feeding to 6 more constructors, then another 6 foundries feeding to another set of 6 constructors. The foundries are at 250% each overclocked, and the constructors at 187.5, because that feeds 112.5 ingots out, and that needs 112.5 ingots to get us this 28.125 beams a minute. It's each one, so 28.125 times 12. There's our 337.5 total beams a minute output. So everything's ready to go. So the way I did this was I brought the 2 middle ones, come in here and come through the floor and then split each way. So the bottom one's coal and the top one is the iron ore. That then feeds into along there and along there. This one was a bit simpler to do the back row because I was able to bring the remaining 2 runs in, split them that way, come out here and then split along here and have the second row of foundries have their inputs just on the through hole floor holes, and just one set went one way and one set went the other way. So we end up with a situation where if I go to this other end, oh, which is closed in, didn't know I'd done that. So you see we've got, they're all coming in from above, from below ground, but they're each split a different way. So the one iron will come sort of towards this. Actually, I'll just keep that open there, might come in handy. So feeding in here, then got power for the constructors going back, sort of leaning back like this, end up with this sort of effect, and the foundry's doing the opposite way. And we've got all the power coming in and then fed around the outside. Just spotted I didn't join that to that one. Just going to quick check all the recipes are in each of the machines. So if I was to, just because I've got one power coming in here, so that's basically probably going to have, oops, that's actually not what I, ooh, oh, didn't mean to walk through that. So I'm just going to get rid of that and go for a double outlet there and do to there. So probably what I'll end up doing is that power there will feed into that. But at the moment I'm just going to feed it from this power pole into here. And that should power all of these up. So they're all going yellow at the front, which is fine because they don't have materials yet. And yep, there's no red ones, which is good, which means they're not powered. Autosave, good timing. And there we go. And that's looking quite good. So we've got a couple of yellows in the constructor rows, which is fine. That's just primarily because they don't have their materials yet. Now, as I mentioned before with manifold, this is a manifold. I'm feeding in at 780 a minute here. Let's get out the efficiency checker. Only needs 562, so it will flood the belt pretty quickly. What that means is that we should end up with these end ones. Oh, not getting any coal at all is not good. Oh, missed a belt. That's what's happened there. That should come through to there. So you can see we've got all of our iron ores already saturated that belt. Haven't missed one there, that's good. Alright. Oop, too high. So that's kind of what you want it to start doing ultimately, is that. So coal's already saturated, that's 100%. That's iron ore's catching up with that one, which is interesting. Oh, no, I have got it. Not too sure how that one fed up before that one, but there you go. That's, you see if you watch it here for a bit, that number will slowly tick up. So you watch it when it drops. So it drops down to 33, 34, now it's dropping down to 35, 36. They'll slowly creep up, as will that one. So this is already stacked at 100, yep. And this will be doing, yep, that's roughly that, and then roughly with that. Cool. That's good. Takes 4 every time it makes one, so it needs 8 at least before it can do the next one. So that's cool. Now these aren't going anywhere at the moment. They're just outputting into the machine. I haven't got any conveyor belt lifters in at the moment. Let's check this one. So you're doing good. This is the first one that's doing a full manifold run. So yeah, that's looking decent. That's actually looking decent. So yep, that's looking good. All right, so that's gone out pretty well. So next step, put in the lifters to take the beams to the top level, to the next level, for both that set of constructors there and that one there. Then we've got to feed it into, then I've got to get the concrete in. That's going to be a bit of a challenge. I'm not really sure. I've got a couple of options. One I'm thinking of is I've got, so there's a whole bunch of limestone in this area. So there's one here. Let's get rid of that pure thing on top. I believe this is a normal. This might, I'm not sure which one this is. Eventually it'll disappear once I've got it all. There we go. Okay, that's impure. So that's going to max out at 300 with the Mark III miner at 250. Let's get rid of these. And there's another limestone. I think it's where is it? So there's one there, and there's one there, and there's another one. There's a pure on the other side there, but that's sort of too far away, and I probably don't really need it. So if this is a normal, I might just check what this is. This is, it's an impure, so that's 600 combined. I think there's another. Ah, there it is. I think this is a normal. That means that'll max out at 600. Yeah, that's normal. So that's 600. So I could combine. I think I'll combine one normal, one impure together. Max out at 900. I don't know. I think I need 720. Let me just quickly check my plan on that. But that's so I'm going to combine those two together, bring them in, and probably bring them in. And I think the plan was to go through here. So bring them into here, bring both into here, or bring them both into there, or bring one into there, combine them, and then bring them into there. Reroute that slot to come down the right side of this this uh, this sort of hall here. Still going to there, so that won't affect that, and then that'll allow me to go hook left out of here and come across here and come into here somewhere. Remember, the ultimate this bit will be all this will be gone because it won't be just here for the construction bit phase. Bring it in here and then conveyor belt lift it to this level where I'll need it to join into the assemblers for the encasement adjusted beams. That'll be something like the plan. So yeah, so eventually we'll see all of those. We'll see all these go red in a moment because these will stack up. They get filled at 200. These will keep going. You can see they're now stack up to 100, so they're already chuckers, which is good. Let's see how they're going. I think these are probably 100 as well. Yep, so that's all good. So they'll stop outputting into the belt up into here because they won't be able to do anything more. They'll get to 200 and stop. These will keep going, and then they'll just saturate the belt into them. I think these stack to 200 as well, if I recall. So yeah, so they'll just stack up and go from there. But that's a good little starting point. I do need to have one of these outputs here or here. I need to have an overflow come out and lead into the iron plates setup. So I might even do one at each end and just do half of what I required in each set of two. Not too sure. Anyway, we need to think about that one. So next thing, put the conveyor belt lifters in to the top bit or into the just done a mistake with that because I need to actually redo all those PowerPoints. That's going to be a bugger. I should have done it at that level because that's where I need alright, that's fine. I'll redo that. Okay, so redo the PowerPoint. I'll wait till everything's stacked up and then I'll do that. Redo the power. Put the conveyor belt lifters in to lift up into these, lift logistics level. And then we'll start combining yeah, so that's now starting to stack up. So it'll now go idle, which is cool. And then these will start to stack into that, and then they'll eventually start to stack up. That's good. That's all to be expected. Right. So yeah, conveyor belt lifters in to feed into the logistics level, and then we'll combine, and then we'll figure out how we combine the steel beams together. You can see the, and then we'll bring in the concrete after that and start putting the encased industrial beams together. So I'll come back after I've done bits and pieces of all that. And there's the finished build. So first floor we have. Oop, I lost my power connection. We've got two sets of 6 foundries, 6 constructors, all feeding into each other. They then come up here into a logistics layer underneath there. They then join the limestone, which comes in from way over. Actually, comes in from there over there. Comes into here. That joins into here and goes into the 8 constructors, which are then in sets of 2, feed into an assembler each. Combined with the beams from underneath, we then get our encased industrial beams come out there. The excess beams that are used into this thing go into one of the drone ports, so I'll show you that. And then at the end of each row, at that row there, and at the same at that end, we've got a smelter going into a constructor to make iron plates. All of that stuff comes out over here, goes up there, up those lifter, joins that, and then goes into 1, 2, 3 drone ports. This one's taking the beams away, this one the plates, and the last one the encased industrial beams. That is all going over to a set of same through, not that one, that one. A set of drone ports, which I've lost my center direction, there it is, over there. So this one's the iron plate one, that goes into that storage, which joins what's been made there. This is the, that one there is the beams, encased industrial beams one, that's going into here. To here, we've got 68% of that container full, and then this last one comes out that very end one, comes into here, and that's just the beams left over, and we've got 85% of that one full. So the idea is going to be that we'll probably build, I might try and build at least 2, let's try and do it now, get one more in there, one more in there, join those 2 together. Oh, they won't line up. Do that. So that'll give us, so you can get a max of in here is 9600 in both, I think. No, 4800 in there, so I'll end up with about 12,000 beams, or no, about 20,000 beams and about 10,000 encased industrial beams. And that'll need to be enough to, and they'll keep coming through, so that's not going to be a big problem. So they'll keep coming through from the drone port. Eventually reroute the beams, encased industrial beams, the steel beams, and the iron plates into this central corridor thing up through the middle here, and get that sorted out. And then once that's in place, we can then dismantle all of this, this as well on the end here, and just have the 4 rows of concrete. And I don't know, not even 4 rows. I won't need as many rows of concrete now, because there's concrete required for the encased industrial beams, which is also made here but not needed anymore. So I'll be able to reduce that as well. And that'll be basically rows of the concrete here needed for what I'm not using to build, won't be needed anymore for the encased industrial beams. So we'll have concrete, I think, is used elsewhere. It's used in this setup in here. So we'll have the row of concrete for that, and there'll be a little bit of excess concrete required to allow us to feed into this setup as needed. So how's that going? That's down to less than 400. Actually, I might just while I'm here crank this up. So normally 120, let's go there. Get that going a little bit quicker. Yes, we need a bit of concrete for this setup, which will just be as needed sort of thing. So that's that, and that's the only concrete we've got now that's needed here. So we won't need the concrete that goes to the encasement rusted beams, which is those 8 assemblers there. So we just need the concrete for these 2, 4, 6, 8 constructors making the pellets, no, assemblers making the encased plutonium cells. That's all we need concrete for. So we can massively reduce the creation of the concrete down to probably just one setup. That will be the next episode, probably after Christmas. So that's the end of episode 12. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the other side. Have a good break, everybody. Have a good Christmas, and I'll see you on the other side, and we'll deal with this thing in front of me. Bye.